Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. You know we love to do a deep dive into topics you're interested in, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking all about precious metals for your IRA.
That's right.
Now, in the past, we've mostly talked about gold, but today we're going beyond the gold standard. We're exploring alternative precious metals,
That's right.
ones that could add serious strength and diversity to your retirement portfolio.
Especially with estate planning in mind.
Exactly. So if you're looking for a way to protect your wealth and make sure it passes smoothly on to your loved ones,
Yes.
this deep dive is for you.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking about metals like silver, platinum, palladium.
It's an exciting world.
It is exciting. And stick around until the end because we've got a special offer.
It's right, we do.
A free checklist to help you choose the right gold IRA company.
Just head over to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
I've heard a lot of buzz about silver lately.
Yeah.
People are saying it's a more accessible entry point
Right.
to precious metals investing.
Sure.
But does that lower price tag mean it's less valuable as a long-term investment? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. And it's one that a lot of investors grapple with. It's true that silver is more affordable than gold upfront. But it's important to remember that it's not just a poor man's gold. Silver has its own unique set of characteristics
Okay.
and market drivers that make it a compelling investment in its own right.
So there's more to silver than meets the eye. What are some of the factors that make it so strong for a retirement portfolio, especially when we're thinking long-term?
Well, one of the most interesting things about silver is its dual nature. It's both a precious metal, often seen as a safe haven asset in times of economic uncertainty,
Yeah.
and it's a key industrial metal.
So it's like a two-for-one deal. You get the stability of a precious metal with the growth potential of an industrial commodity.
Exactly. And what's particularly exciting right now is silver's role in the renewable energy sector.
Okay.
As the world shifts towards solar power, the demand for silver, which is a critical component in solar panels,
Right.
is expected to skyrocket.
That makes a lot of sense. We're seeing solar panels popping up
Yeah.
everywhere. And if silver is essential for those, I can see why its value would increase.
Yeah,
But let's not forget about platinum and palladium.
right.
They also have industrial uses, right?
Yes,
Especially in the automotive industry, if I remember correctly.
you're absolutely right. Platinum and palladium are both essential for catalytic converters, which are used in gasoline and diesel vehicles to reduce harmful emissions. So as long as we're driving cars with traditional engines, there will be a consistent demand for these metals.
That's a good point. But I've also read that the rise of electric vehicles could potentially disrupt the demand for platinum and palladium.
Sure.
Is that something investors should be concerned about?
It's definitely a factor to consider. As electric vehicles become more mainstream, the demand for traditional catalytic converters, and therefore platinum and palladium, could decrease. However, it's important to note that this shift won't happen overnight. We're still talking about a gradual transition, and it's likely that demand for these metals will remain strong for years to come.
So it's not a sudden drop-off, but more of a gradual evolution to watch closely. And speaking of watching things closely, how do these industrial uses impact the price volatility of these alternative metals compared to gold?
That's a key question. While gold is primarily driven by investor sentiment and factors like geopolitical uncertainty and inflation,
Yeah.
silver, platinum, and palladium are more closely tied to industrial demand.
Okay.
So their prices can be influenced by things like technological advancements, manufacturing trends,
Okay.
and even government regulations related to emission standards.
So that makes sense. It sounds like these alternative metals might be a bit more dynamic than gold, with their value fluctuating based on these real-world factors. But before we get too deep into those market forces, I think it's important to take a step back and make sure our listeners understand the basics of holding precious metals in an IRA.
Absolutely. It's crucial to have a solid foundation before making any investment decision.
Right. And for our listeners who are just beginning to explore the world of precious metals, we've got a free checklist to help you choose the right gold IRA company. You can download it at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It covers everything from fees and storage options to custodian reputation and customer service.
It's a fantastic resource to guide you through the process and ensure you're making informed decisions every step of the way.
Okay, so back to the basics. Could you give us a quick overview of how a precious metals IRA actually works?
Sure. A precious metals IRA, also known as a self-directed IRA, is a type of retirement account that allows you to hold physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, or palladium as part of your retirement savings. It's a way to diversify your portfolio beyond traditional stocks and bonds and potentially hedge against inflation and market volatility.
So it's basically like a traditional IRA, but instead of holding paper assets like stocks and bonds, you're holding actual physical precious metals. That's pretty cool. But I'm curious about the tax implications. Are they treated the same as traditional IRA investments?
That's where things get a bit tricky. The IRS treats precious metals as collectibles, which means they're taxed differently than other assets held in an IRA.
Oh, that's interesting. Could you elaborate on that a bit? What does it mean for investors, especially when it comes time to take distributions in retirement?
Well, the main difference is the capital gains tax rate. When you sell collectibles, including precious metals, the maximum capital gains tax rate is 28% regardless of whether they're held in an IRA or not. This is higher than the typical long-term capital gains tax rate for other investments, which can be as low as 0% for certain income
So
brackets.
even though you're holding these metals in a tax-advantaged retirement account, you could potentially face a higher tax bill when you sell them.
That's right. It's important to factor in those potential tax implications when making investment decisions. And of course, as with any IRA, you'll also be subject to required minimum distributions, RMDs, once you reach a certain age, which is currently 73.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered the tax side of things, but I also want to touch on the benefits of precious metals for estate planning. That seems to be a big draw for a lot of our listeners.
Absolutely. One of the most appealing aspects of precious metals, especially when held in a self-directed IRA, is their ability to bypass probate.
Now, I know we've mentioned probate before, but could you explain what that is for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term?
Of course, probate is the legal process of distributing a deceased person's assets according to their will. It can be a lengthy and expensive process, often involving court fees, legal fees, and administrative costs.
So by holding precious metals in a self-directed IRA, you can potentially avoid all of those headaches and expenses for your beneficiaries. That's a huge advantage.
Exactly, and it can save your loved ones a significant amount of time and money during an already difficult time. Plus, it gives you more control over how your assets are distributed. You can designate specific beneficiaries for your precious metals IRA, ensuring that your wealth is passed on according to your wishes.
That makes perfect sense. And it's not just about avoiding probate, right? There's also the potential for appreciation, which is something we always want to consider when planning for the future.
Absolutely. Precious metals have historically held their value well, even during periods of economic uncertainty. And as we discussed earlier, silver, platinum, and palladium, with their strong industrial demand, have the potential for significant appreciation over time.
So you're saying these alternative precious metals could be a powerful way to not only preserve wealth, but also grow it for future generations.
Yeah.
That's a compelling argument. But I'm also thinking about the practical side of things. If I decide to invest in these metals, how do I actually acquire them and store them securely?
That's a great question. When you set up a self-directed IRA for precious metals, you'll need to work with a custodian who specializes in this type of account. The custodian will help you purchase the metals and arrange for secure storage at an approved depository.
So I don't have to worry about keeping bars of silver or platinum hidden under my mattress.
No, definitely not. These depositories are highly secure facilities specifically designed for storing precious metals. They offer multiple layers of security, including armed guards, surveillance systems, and insurance coverage, so you can rest assured that your investments are safe.
That's reassuring to know, and I imagine the custodian can also guide me through the process of choosing the right metals for my portfolio based on my individual goals and risk tolerance.
Exactly. A reputable custodian will work with you to understand your financial objectives, time horizon, and overall investment strategy. They can help you determine the right mix of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium to meet your specific needs.
That's incredibly helpful. It sounds like finding the right custodian is crucial for a smooth and successful precious metals IRA experience. And speaking of guidance, for those of you who are ready to explore this further but aren't sure where to start, I highly recommend downloading our free checklist at goldira.blueprint.com/exclusive. It's a fantastic resource that will walk you through the process of choosing the right gold IRA company for your needs.
Absolutely. It covers everything from fees and storage options to custodian reputation and customer service, all the essential factors to consider when making this important decision.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the unique properties of silver, platinum, and palladium, their industrial uses and growth potential, the tax implications of holding them in an IRA, and the benefits for estate planning. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the potential impact of electric vehicles on platinum and palladium. Can we dive a bit deeper into that?
Certainly, it's an important topic and one that's generating a lot of discussion in the investment world, as I mentioned earlier. Platinum and palladium are crucial components in catalytic converters, which are used in gasoline and diesel vehicles to reduce harmful emissions.
Right. And as electric vehicles become more popular, the demand for those traditional vehicles and therefore the metals used in their catalytic converters could decrease.
Precisely, however, it's important to remember that this transition won't happen overnight. The global automotive market is vast, and gasoline and diesel vehicles will likely remain a significant part of that market for many years to come.
So it's not a sudden cliff, but more of a gradual shift in demand. But I'm still curious about the implications for investors. If someone is considering adding platinum or palladium to their portfolio, how should they factor in this potential disruption?
It's all about taking a long-term perspective and understanding the factors that could influence the demand and price of these metals over time, for example. Even though electric vehicle adoption is increasing, there are still significant challenges to overcome, such as battery technology, charging infrastructure, and affordability. These challenges could slow down the transition and extend the demand for platinum and palladium.
So it's not as simple as saying electric vehicles are here, therefore platinum and palladium are doomed. It's a more nuanced situation with multiple factors at play.
Exactly, and it's why it's so important to stay informed, do your research, and consult with a financial advisor who understands the intricacies of the precious metals market.
That makes perfect sense, and it brings us back to the importance of diversification, which has been a recurring theme throughout our conversation today.
Absolutely. A well-diversified portfolio is essential for mitigating risk and maximizing returns, especially in today's ever-changing economic landscape. And precious metals, including gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, can play a valuable role in achieving that diversification.
Couldn't agree more. But I'm also wondering about the other side of the coin. Are there any potential drawbacks or risks associated with investing in alternative precious metals that our listeners should be aware of?
Of course, as with any investment, there are always risks to consider. One of the main risks with precious metals is price volatility. While they can offer a hedge against inflation and market downturns, their prices can fluctuate significantly
Yeah.
based on various factors, including supply and demand, economic conditions, and investor sentiment.
So they're not immune to market swings, even though they're seen as a safe haven asset. That's important to remember.
Exactly. And another factor to consider is storage. While you don't have to keep the metals yourself,
Right.
you will need to pay storage fees to a custodian, which can eat into your returns over time.
That makes sense. Security comes at a cost. But speaking of cost, I'm curious about the fees associated with setting up and maintaining a precious metals IRA. Are they typically higher than traditional IRAs?
They can be custodians for precious metals. IRAs often charge higher fees than traditional IRA custodians, primarily due to the additional costs associated with storing and insuring physical metals.
So it's essential to shop around and compare fees from different custodians to make sure you're getting a good deal.
Absolutely. And it's also important to understand the custodian's buyback policy. If you decide to sell your metals, you'll want to ensure that the custodian offers a fair price and a smooth transaction process.
That's a great point. It's all about doing your due diligence and choosing a custodian that you trust and feel comfortable working with. But before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty of custodians, I want to circle back to the bigger picture of portfolio construction. How do alternative precious metals fit into a well-rounded retirement plan?
They can be a valuable component of a diversified portfolio, providing a hedge against inflation, market volatility, and geopolitical uncertainty. However, it's crucial to view them as part of a broader strategy, not the entire strategy itself.
So it's not about putting all your eggs in one basket, even if that basket is filled with precious metals.
Precisely, the key is balance. Your retirement portfolio should include a mix of assets, including stocks, bonds, real estate, and potentially precious metals, all tailored to your specific financial goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon.
And that's where working with a qualified financial advisor can be invaluable. They can help you create a personalized plan that aligns with your individual needs and ensures you're on track to reach your retirement goals.
Couldn't agree more. A financial advisor can provide expert guidance on asset allocation, risk management, and tax optimization, helping you navigate the complexities of the financial world and make informed decisions about your investments.
Well said. And speaking of informed decisions, for those of you who are ready to explore the world of precious metals and see how they might fit into your retirement plan, don't forget to download our free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's a fantastic resource that will guide you through the process of choosing the right gold IRA company for your needs.
Absolutely. It's a great first step in your journey towards diversifying your portfolio and potentially enhancing your retirement security.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've talked about the current market, how things like electric vehicles and renewable energy could affect these metals, but things are always changing.
Hmm.
Technology is always evolving, so how might those future advancements shape precious metals investing in the years to come?
It's a fascinating question and one that investors should always be considering. Will new technologies emerge that rely on these metals driving up demand? Or will there be alternative materials that come along that diminish their importance? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the world of precious metals is as dynamic, staying informed and adaptable is crucial for success.
Absolutely. So keep learning, keep exploring, and if you're ready to take the next step, visit goldirablueprint.com/exclusive for that free checklist to help you choose the right clan, Gold IRA Company. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep investing wisely.